Start the video, please.
नीरज जी मेरा कनेक्शन है. हेलो.
Yes, sir.
Welcome to this series of webinar, 10 webinars by Smart Habitat Foundation.
Yes sir. Yes sir. Yes sir.
Smart Habitat Foundation is an excellence for art and architecture and for human settlement, initiated by Creative Group and Professor Charanjit Shah. For the last 4 years, we are working on various aspects of art, architecture. We have various debates with students of architecture and teachers of architecture colleges, so that the interface between the practice of architecture and the teaching methodology could be understood. We have various like Indo-Russian conclave, and it's like a global debates by global architects and also allied professionals like PMC, project management consultants, construction management consultants, financial management consultants, quality management consultants, structural engineers, MEP, architecture, plus art and sculpture put together. We have the Vice President, Mr. Dr. R.S. Sodhi, Gurpreet Shah. We have advisory in terms of more than 400 professionals, including various more than 200 head of the departments of School of Architecture, plus practicing architects, then the green consultants, structural engineers, MEP consultants. All the eminent personalities are participating in giving the advice in terms of creating green Indian sustainable architecture. And these are the glimpse of the various workshops we study. We teach the students for about 15 days in-house, and then they do the publication. So all these things are being done at Smart Habitat Foundation with the help of all my colleagues, architects, friends, and other professionals. Now we clubbed with SOCAM James. You see Mr. Pankaj Dharkar, Mr. Hiranandani, Mr. Menon, all are now clubbed together, including the support of ASHRAE, ISHRAE, even FSAI, and all those allied bodies are also coming forward, and we are having a joint platform and now created these 10 webinar discussion on various elements of building industry in terms of creating that sort of an understanding, so that we have the interface between all of them together. These are some of the publications we have made for publication for evolution of steel. We have also done on smart city planning, and that is all what we do. And now we hope for a very large platform with SOCAM and Smart Habitat Foundation to take it further. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Professor Charanjit Shah. Thank you so much, SOCM JAM team and Smart Habitat Foundation. I, Neeraj Jaroda, a Senior Director at SOCM. I look after the JAM Green Building Certification Program of SOCM. And on behalf of SOCM, I would like to welcome all the delegates, ladies and gentlemen who are listening to us, and our eminent speakers, those who have joined us. I would like to share with you that today is our 11th webinar series. Earlier, we planned for 10 webinars, but after viewing the success of these webinars, now we have added 2 or 3 more webinars in the series, and I'm happy. I'm surprised to see that today we got maximum registrations, 2,400 plus registrations, and I can see that more than 800 delegates are listening to us live across the country. Friends, today is a very special day for us, as today SOCM GEM Council is going to sign the MOU with Indian Society of Lighting Engineers, ISLE. We have with us Mr. Dilip Khumbat and Dr. Prakash Barjatia ji from ISLE. Please stay with us till end, and at the end, at 5 or 10, we will be signing the MOU with ISLE. This is going to be a history for us. We have very eminent speakers with us, starting from Charanjit Shah Sahab, Vineet Khanna ji, Mr. Shakti Lika from Bajaj, Mr. Vinayak Diwan, Mr. Harmeet Singh ji, Architect Amit Gupta, Mr. Bikramjit Singh ji, Mr. Dharkar, Mr. Dilip Kumbat, and Prakash Barjatia ji. So now I would like to invite Professor Charanjit Shah Sahab to please brief the audience about the webinar and set the tempo, sir. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Neeraj ji. It's really a privileged honor for me to be here with all of you, the eminent speakers, and I would say, the honored audience with a record number. We started in May, and today is the 11th webinar on to various elements of applied architecture and to look upon the holistic approach towards human settlement. And I am very happy that when we started from Smart Habitat Foundation, practically all alone, some of the colleges came over, and then my friend Pankaj Dharkar ji said, yes, let's club together. And then this is how in collaboration with ASSOCHAM, GEMS, and then ISHRE, ASHRE, FSAI, and now our great institution of lighting, the Society of Lighting Engineers, they are also clubbing together, and that will create understanding between the various stakeholders, professionals, and so that we are not working like in a frog in a well, but we are now collaborative manner, and definitely we can run a big ship and be in a very smooth, even in the roughest sea, So that is what perhaps is the agenda of Smart Habitat Foundation and SOM, to really go together and convey this to the industry so that we can really do justice to the profession and to the building as a whole. Today's deliberations are particularly onto a subject which is very favorably called as illumination and lighting, but perhaps sometimes we are in a myth that, oh, lighting is something which is only cosmetics. But understanding the real sense of lighting is an essential element of any built form, and perhaps it is the lighting which plays a very, very important role in terms of mood, in terms of emotions, in terms of sentiments, and putting life to a building. And building can be made, I would say that we generally say that building is a mass of brick and concrete, but not as a living organism. But with good proper lighting, it brings life to the building, and building starts breathing and vibrating, and that is what lighting is all about. Today we have very good eminent lineup of speakers in terms of the experts like Ranjit ji,
Ranjit ji, I think there is some issue in audio. Yeah. So I think there is some issue with Charanjit Singh sir's audio. Meanwhile, I would like to introduce you with Architect Vineet Khanna. Architect Vineet Khanna is a very smart, very special person. He is the principal architect of Space Ace. Mr. Vineet Khanna is an alumni of School of Planning and Architecture, Delhi. Was the design backbone of his mother's venture, Touchwood, for 2 decades, while being the principal architect of his architecture design company, Space Ace. Space Ace is a multidisciplinary practice with widespread experience in designing universities, museums, townships, hotels, resorts, hospitals, data and convention centers, shopping malls, bus terminuses, railway stations, and even airports. So, Architect Vineet ji, now ball is in your court, and we would request you to please drive the program. Over to you, Vineet ji.
Thank you so much, Neeraj ji. And when Mr. Shah joins in, he will, I think he'll join you at the speed of light. As you rightly said, there is no ball in the court. Now there is a lot of light falling in the court, And we have enlightened panelists here who have kind of studied the art and science of light. So, so I look forward, and especially the lightness will uplift the profession whenever it goes to darkness. So let there be light. So my first eminent speaker is Mr. Vinayak Devan. Mr. Vinayak Devan is the principal and founding member of Lightbook, a design practice where emphasis is given on high creativity to create lighting design spaces for our esteemed clientele. He is a graduate in architecture from Strand School of Art and Architecture, Gurgaon, and masters in lighting design from IED Milan. After his master's, he joined a lighting design from specialized in exterior lighting of monuments and old heritage villas in Italy. He has international work experience of small and large-scale projects in Middle East, Singapore, and Milan for over a decade, and now running a successful design practice in New Delhi and a startup office in London. Lightbook is a design practice with projects across India, Dubai, and mainly focusing in hospitality, F&B, high-end residences, commercial, and corporate environments. So, Vinayak, are you ready to light up the camera and light up the show? So, are you ready with your questions? So, my first question is to you: what is lighting design? What are the key ingredients for a successful lighting design? And is lighting design an art or just a technique, or doing lighting calculations for any project? So, it's all yours, Vinayak. Show our students, teachers, architects, all the attendees light. Over to you.
Vinayak, you're on mute, I think. We don't hear you.
Unmute yourself, Mr.
Yeah.
Vinayak.
Please
Oh,
unmute
sorry.
yourself, Vinayak. Yes.
Sorry, I will start again. Thanks for the introduction, Vineet, and so much and so many questions. I think, like I said, we can spend the whole day answering these questions. But to start with, and trying to keep it brief, considering we have so many great panelists right now to talk about lighting today. See, lighting is a subject is beautiful. It creates reactions from people. It gives emotions. We live in this environment day in and day out because of lighting. It's the fourth dimension of architecture. That's what everybody now talks about. It is a difficult subject, but it's a very interesting subject. It is an intangible material, which we all know, which actually gives life to everything we live in and breathe in. It gives that different perspective to the architecture and the spaces we all live in. It is very perception based, like I said. And the whole idea of a good quality lighting, which we always talk about, is that how exactly we analyze our spaces. What exactly as designers are we looking for from our spaces? And we can define that in various categories. We can talk about what is the visual quality we are looking for, what is the spatial quality we are looking for, and also the overall atmosphere which we as lighting designers are trying to create for our clients and for the architects. And of course, it all starts from a beautiful palette which is given to us by the architects. What is the details, how exactly it has been worked out, what is the overall visual the architect is trying to give to the owners and to the people. So we would have to break down each and every element of the design, and in terms of our lighting, and that is exactly when we'll come up with our lighting design concept. And we will talk about lighting layering, we'll talk about the techniques of lighting, we'll talk about what kind of fixture intent we are looking for. Are we looking at ambient lighting? Are we looking at accent lighting? So it's going to be subdivided into many layers of lighting, which will help us give us the right lighting design project for our client. That is how I think I'll sum up, and to your question right now.
Great, Vinayak. What you're talking about is the layers of lighting, and
Yeah.
I'm sure there'll be a lot of questions about the layers we are talking about. But as we go on, let's go to the next layer of our panelists, and we have Mr. Shamit Gupta here. I think he's the youngest looking and the most charming, architect that I'm looking at. And let there be light, Amit. And Amit is the founding partner of Studio Symbiosis, an architecture practice based out of Delhi and Stuttgart. Upon graduation from Architectural Association in London, he joined Zaha Hadid Architects. He also taught at Amity School of Architecture and has been super jury at IGA Kuala Lumpur. Amit started his own practice in Delhi in 2010 by winning the prestigious Athletic Ripple Sports Complex. He has won a number of international awards, including the German Design Award, Iconic Award, International Property Award, a Design Award, World Architecture Community, to name a few. He gave the TEDx talk in Bremen, Germany, 2015 on the topic of performative aesthetics. The key projects from him are Doubletree by Hilton, Ahmedabad, 1200-acre Trans-Ganga Master Plan in Kanpur, Hilton Kathmandu, Eco Park in Delhi, Gwalior train station, Bangalore train station in Punjab, Kesri headquarters. Oh my God, that's amazing. And I think we have a lot to learn with the TED talker, architect Amit Gupta. And my questions to him is, how do you integrate lighting as design element rather than an afterthought? And can you highlight the maintenance aspect of architecture facade lighting and the importance of BMU for skyrise buildings? And also Amit has a case study to share, right Amit? Over to you, Amit.
Thank you, Vinny. Thanks a lot. So coming to in terms of architecture lighting, we believe that every aspect of design should be integrated. And lighting is a very important aspect. We don't really see design as something, we should not really see design as parts and bits. It should be all integrated. I'll just have a control. Yeah. So if you see my screen, so for us, the topic which we really wanted to discuss is architecture lighting, creating an urban cityscape. So like I was saying, architecture lighting should not be an afterthought. When we're doing concept design, this lighting should be integrated and embedded in the design itself. How we see the silhouette of a building in a cityscape and how it reflects and reacts during day and night. So these are the aspects which we should be very critical about when we are looking at a form or a design. So the first case study which I'd like to share is Hilton Kathmandu. So it was a very interesting project for us. The client brief was to use something local. So in this project, it was all about light for us. What we did was we used the prayer flags of Kathmandu. And this for us was something local. And one of the benefits is that the building which we have is around 80 meters high and surroundings is only 17 meters. So by playing with light, we get something very monumental during the night also. And we reflect the culture of the city of Kathmandu. So essentially what we have done here is in terms of integrating the systems of lighting, we have this vertical frame, which you see on the right side of the building. So these actually represent the prayer flags of Kathmandu. And they have been installed on the facade as dichroic sandwiched fins. So it's a second layer which comes in front. Of course, when we are playing with light, we have to also take care in hospitality about glare issues and also issues of light not entering inside the room during night. So the idea was to really do something very simple installation and easy to maintain. So these fins, so this is where we have installed the lighting system during night and day. During the daytime, of course, based on the angle of incidence of the sun, you see different colors and shades of glass, which is also lighting, but maybe not really architecture lighting, but day lighting. And the same element during the night transforms into this very beautiful vertical facade lighting and architecture lighting. So for this, we have done some mock-ups with dichroic glass. So this one, you see the dichroic glass during the day. So it's really nice, it's a system whereby we get color in design to just the material and how we are playing with light in the night time. So this is during the day. So these shades of color will get on various heights of the building, various times of day. And then during the night, so we did a lot of tests and iterations in terms of what kind of glass we need and what is the iron content of the glass, layering inside. So this is one of the tests which we are doing. Lighting is one of the very difficult things to decide as an architect, because like Vinayak said, it's intangible. And you have to do a lot of mock-ups put into the system of lighting and to understand what is the end result. So for this project, I think we did around 20 mock-ups, a couple of mock-ups on site to get the final result. So it's really an iterative process. Lighting, we cannot really just design and see, because even in software, the renderings cannot do justice to the lux level and the look and feel of the building, of how we are really looking at this. Another thing which was really critical for us, actually in every project, if we are speaking about facade lighting and urban cityscape lighting, how does the light from inside the building affect the outside facade lighting? So when you're illuminating the rooms or any other space, we have to really look into these two things together. We cannot just look separately onto the facade lighting as one part, one aspect of design, and internal lighting as a different aspect of design. Now the second case study is a mixed-use complex which we're doing in Bombay. It's very close to Mumbai Central. So So effectively, the project was actually 5 floors high, and then extension was done on top. So for us, it was very interesting to be involved in a retrofitting project. We were extending the building on top with a couple of 10, 12 floors, which is residential, and to create an amalgamation of the lower and the upper design. And also in terms of visibility on the upper floors, we have this apartment. So anyway, playing with the grid, we create this move whereby the lower part of the building, which is offices, we have this pixel kind of a facade. And then the verticality was very important for us. Now, in terms of architectural lighting, this is where we were looking at that this vertical element also become a part of the cityscape of the city of Bombay. So it actually accentuates the height of the building, and we are illuminating it by 2 ways. One is eliminating the pixels on the facade, and second is the vertical line. Because, you know, if you are speaking about a skyscraper, it's not really what we see in the images, it's never what we see in reality. The field of vision is always very different. That's why I was saying about mock-up. So this is a mock-up which was done on site of this spin and one element. This building was supposed to open in July, but unfortunately due to current circumstances, it has been delayed. But you know, even here we did a lot of mock-ups on site and try to test how the elements of lighting will integrate and reflect in the cityscape. So here we just tried this various wattages and the fixing details. And of course, very important thing about architectural facade lighting is maintenance. So first of all is a specification writing, that we go into correct specification where the, you know, a lot of maintenance is not required. It's a very long lasting product. And second is, if something goes wrong, we have a building maintenance unit, which is helping us to maintain the facade system. So Vineet, coming back to the second question now, like building maintenance unit is very important for any project because it helps us in maintaining the facade. Operations and maintenance is very critical because we cannot just look at handing over the project, but we have to also look at the life cycle of a project over, let's say, 20, 30, 40, 50 years, of how we can always a project look elegant, and it should have the same charm as it had the first it opened. So building maintenance units and specification writing, and also the fixing detail is very critical for us. Because, you know, with lighting consultants, we always look into fixing details and ease of changing the system also. So apart from these are just 2-3 images more in terms of integrating lighting in facade system. So we believe that the pattern of the building should transform into the lighting system. It should never be afterthought. It should be an integral part of the design that really highlights and it actually accentuates the design rather than trying to just put some uplighters and you know, highlighting some bits and pieces. And this is a Versova project which I started with. So here, this is the evening shot, but this is only to show how the rotation of the tower creates a silhouette for us. We call it the dancing towers of Mumbai. So the same thing we are using in terms of architectural facade lighting also. The silhouette of the building really stands out in the cityscape of Mumbai. So Vineet, that's it from my side.
Fantastic. Yes, fantastic, Amit. Excellent, excellent, very inspiring kaleidoscope of projects. As you say, lighting embedded in design and integrated with design is very important. I'm very impressed to see a lighting lab. I mean, how many architects have a lighting lab? You know, this is the first time I've seen such an elaborate way of seeing a lighting lab. And of course, the inside effect of light has to you know, permeate outside, which is amazing. So we will thank Amit for such an insightful presentation. Let's move on to more lighting yarn. We have Mr. Harmeet Singh Isar, founding partner and design director from Design Matrix. Mr. Harmeet started his career in electronics engineering, which led him very naturally to design and commissioning of controls for intelligent lighting systems. It was in early days of LEDs, and with his exposure in lighting, he became one of the first few solid state, so I would say solid lighting specialist with Philips Lighting. Realizing early on that light itself is much more than LED controls or any particular technology. He established Design Matrix, which with his mentor Sanjeev to pursue his philosophy. Today he has directed more than 200 projects, including the light master planning of the city of Lucknow, several prominent hotels in India, Africa and Southeast Asia, as well as the revitalization of City Palace of Jaipur for night tourism. He's also the founding partner of Brand Design Objects and Bespoke. over to you, my dear Harmeet sir. And my question to you is, what do you think is the meaning of lighting design? And you have a PPT to offer with it. Please, all yours, Harmeet.
Yeah. So lighting design. We have a difficult question. I put some slides together to share with you and answering various approaches to make it a little more simpler for all of us and trying to understand. We have been trying to answer this question since about 15 years. That's what I would start with. And what is lighting design? So lighting design is architecture, interior, landscape revealed. That's something which we call it. We are a medium of trying to bring in the lighting in the building architecture, interiors, as well as the landscapes. This is one of the projects which we did, which exactly explains the essence of a lighting designer, what he does. If I tell you, all of you, that this is all the outcome of removing light fixtures which were planned to be placed into this project. If you see, we got rid of the soffit lighting, we got rid of the lighting in front of the screens, and we told them to switch on all the light fixtures inside it. So that is what a lighting designer is. It's just setting up the context and setting up the visual of the project. So that is we understood what are the surfaces, what are the materials used, and that's when we started reacting. Otherwise, before we got engaged into this project, architects were already trying to light up the screens, all of them, and then they had a lot of soffit lights, all that planned, which were relevant. But when we started understanding the spaces and getting down to minimizing things, that's the outcome which we came up with. And this is another example of the same thing, which when we say we try and reveal the architecture at night, we bring the identity at night. That is what our role is, and that's what the lighting needs to do. This is a beautiful palace. All we needed to do is figure out where to hide the light fixtures, how to play with a little bit of gradation of the color temperature, not using too much of color into it. And that's what we did. If you see, right from bottom to up, it goes a little bit of gradation of color. That's what we achieved. And top Jali, I must tell you, is actually an outcome of value engineering. We had all of it lit, and there were several thousands of these inside this in this project, and it was getting very heavy on cost. So then we started reducing it, but reducing with a method to it. If you see at the corners, both the lights are there, but even if we try and miss one, but at the corners we get together. So these kind of value engineering exercises also have to be followed as a design process rather than just a process of doing it. So now, is it a light source? Is it ceiling? Is it engineering solution? Is it art? I think it's a lot more than that. That is what we have realized, and we keep on realizing every month and day. This is a project which we did in Goldman Sachs, and the entire complex of theirs, 2 million square feet, the interior, exterior, all of that was designed by us. And we were left with this one cafeteria where we were asked to do, we needed to bring in something because of lighting. So what we did was we did a sculpture here, and here we actually built something which keeps the color on top and tries to bring in light at the bottom. So you can eat in a right color. You still have on your tables, you have 2700 Kelvin, but in the ceiling, the whole ceiling does something dramatic all the time. So that's also a lighting designer's job sometimes, to jump in and add to a creative aspect, quotient to it, bring in a new change by lighting, because lighting also becomes a very inexpensive, I would say, medium of creating a change in a space. This is how we approach to it. So that's then another responsibility on our shoulders, which is to make it green. So I always say that if you design it, it'll be green. This is one example which elaborates that. Before we got engaged into this project, this is a heritage transport museum. All the way, you will Google it, you'll find several lovely reviews about it. The museum is the spirit of museum is amazing. That's what I would say. All we did was we actually used 7 watts of LED fixtures, and this is about 2014 I'm talking about. They were trying to do with 35 watts, 70 watts, metal lights, a lot of sunlight coming in from the ceilings. So we went in and actually reduced everything to 7 watts. each car being picked up, and also reducing the sunlight in the space, because museums do not need that kind of a sunlight. It is just we need to create a fill in the space, which is enough to make you feel safe or moving, so that you can create another layer of, as Vinayak mentioned, layer of lighting, which is emphasizing the exhibits which are there. So that was, if we were not involved in this project, the client would have spent no less than 6 times the money what he spent, and every month he would have paid 3 times the bills what he's paying right now. So that's another interesting. Then there is another aspect to light, is to create a visual comfort. Now this is one tunnel which you have seen enough tunnels in city now. We have enough of them in Gurgaon and this bit. This tunnel was purely designed on the basis of visual comfort, and we had a lot of argument with a lot of specialists in lighting. When I say specialists, we were lighting designers for GMR, the entire Aerocity. This is part of that part, also some part of it. So and we wanted to do this, and client believed it also very strongly, and we executed it. It's a very, very, very simple project, but again brings in a lot of quality to visual. I guess many of us have passed this tunnel and realized what is the difference in it. Of course, a lot of technical bit of it. Another aspect of ours, as Amit was mentioning, is how to create the feasible executable answers. This was another challenge given to us. This is all the way in Lusaka, which is a little behind India as well, I would say, a lot behind, I would say. So we literally went in and used one product from one manufacturer and just placed it differently and did the project. Right from the linear in the ceilings, what you see, we created baffles with the architect and just inserted there. And then we used the similar product, same product, inside the fence, which we also designed with the architect and did an interesting detail to hide it easily, so that you get a little bit of glimpse of halo of that. And then we took the same product and cut it into shorter pieces and kept it like on the top layers. If you see, that is where we did a garland effect. So what we did was literally actually took one product and break it into various forms to do the elements of the project. So that was the whole intention, because we wanted to make it very simple. That was for sure. The planning to be simple, because we only went for 3 times to the site, and there was very little chance of mock-ups, which is very, very, very important. Amit also mentioned, and but this is the outcome what we have finally out of the project. Perhaps, so what we say is a lighting design. We are trying to is a stirring the nighttime identity, or creating a nighttime identity is a role, one of the very major roles of lighting designers what we play together with the architect. Of course, we have a tool which is like a veil, which can hide a lot of things, which can reveal a lot of things. Sometimes architects, we've discussed with them and they want to emphasize some elements, we bring in that. So that's the role what we play. This is one of the projects in Lucknow, B.R. Ambedkar Pratik Parivartan Cell, Pratik Cell. So where it is nobody is allowed inside the space after 7 o'clock. So it was designed like a visual. There is a band area which is a little resin up, and there is where you see the project like this. So it is actually literally there is no ambient lighting planned for this place, and it was very lot of thought, lot of discussion happened, and we just picked up the elements. And in a larger scale, that's another case which we have to pick up very intelligently, how to mitigate the whole space rather than just trying to light everything. So what we did was here just picked up the architectural elements and revealed them at night, and then created a background, foreground, all the layers into it, and that's what it is. So we actually composed an image with lighting. That was the idea in this project what we did. And same ways, this is some of our projects, the ways we pursue. First we get a architectural rendering, try and sketch on them whatever we want to do, and then there is an outcome. Like this was a very interesting project. When it was designed, it was the tallest steel structure by Mr. Raja Hedri, and we got a chance to work with him. So that's the outcome of the project. That's what we are, and this is my answer to lighting design. I'm happy to receive any questions, anything which I can answer more. Vineet, over to you.
Fantastic, Ramir. A very sensitive and a very delicate way of how you handle light, and how subtly you handle it. And the most important thing that you say is that the quality of good lighting is where you don't see the light fixture. And that's what I heard when I met the architect of Uday Vilas. He said, "You will not see any light fixture in my Uday Vilas." So, anyways, I'm just reminded, just nostalgia. And the Zambia project, where you are having architects to do the lighting with the medium, it's amazing. So we'll. I'm sure it's a lot of. It must have created a lot of light in our attendees. I hope attendees are enjoying the session. And while we're enjoying the session, we have the talents, varied talents are coming up, and now we have Mr. Engineer Bikramjit Kukreja. Mr. Engineer Bikramjit Kukreja is the principal consultant of V Consulting with over 20 years of experience in the field of electrical and mechanical services and intelligent building management and control systems. He has been involved in projects in various countries and is a highly specialized technical expert with mega project experience, including airports, hospitals, high and tall and super tall buildings. He completed his MTech from IIT Delhi and is a contributing member in various national organizations such as ASHRAE, India Roads Congress, Institute of Hospital Engineers, Institute of Fire Engineers, and Indian Plumbing Association. Welcome to you, Bikramjit, if I can call you. And these are the questions that we would like you to address. How do we add sustainability and conservation in lighting, and role of controls and automation in lighting? Over to you, Bikramjit. It's good to have an engineer's point of view, after architects pitching in and lighting experts pitching in. Over to you.
Thank you, Vineet. I would actually start by actually saying wow to whatever presentation we just had from Amit and Harmeet ji. It's quite crazy that an architect designs a building for fulfilling a form and a function, and the lighting consultant takes it to a new height. And then finally an MEP consultant comes in to actually be the ugly duckling in the entire scheme of things and starts to sort of tone down the things and get them into the right perspective of sustainability and actually getting it executed at site. So if you would allow me, I would wish to start, share a few slides.
Sure.
So now
I can see a happy family, and we all are happy family. Yes, please go ahead.
You not see the presentation?
Yes.
And now, are you able to see the slide?
Yes.
Okay. So I would actually first say that all these pictures are borrowed because I'm not a lighting consultant. One. Two is that when I actually look at a lighting control and when I look at getting it into sustainability and getting the least amount of cost and the least amount of wattage and the least amount of power and the wire that I use to actually power it, I need to go and understand the lighting core fundamentals that I feel are most important. The first being that the selective application of light has to happen. That means we need to light only what needs to be lighted, and rest, as Harmeet and Vinayak said, that you don't need to light up everything. This needs to be a contrast. You need to have contrast so that the light and the dark actually are visible separately, distinctly, and you appreciate what you've lighted. The third important thing is the visual perception. What I see is very important to actually create that sort of a visual which the architect has in mind when he starts making or designing a project. Now the problem with the LED. See, I will not go with the history of LED. Now we will go with what is present. What has happened is that with the advent of LED, with the reduction in cost of LED, with the reduction in wattages, with the bettering of efficacy of the lighting fixtures, with lower and lower wattage giving you maximum output out of a fixture, what has happened is that the irony has happened that we are installing more. If you would recall, about 15-20 years back, when you used to have a room in our house, we used to have a 40-watt tube light and maybe one more light. But now what is happening is that we have at least 20 or maybe 15 to 27 watt or 9-watt fixtures in every room. We've added so much of facade lighting just because the lighting fixture cost has gone down, availability is easy, the wattage is less, and that is why practically everybody wants to get into that thing of lighting up everything that they have. What has happened is that the issues that have come out of all this lighting is, one is the light pollution. That means if you actually go on top of a tall building and you see probably the figurine on the left, the picture on the left, you see that. So you don't want to see something like that. You want to see the silhouettes of the building. You want the buildings to be lighted nicely. You want the buildings to be identified properly, not like a gizmo, like not like something where everything is lighted and you're not even able to identify. The second problem that has happened is that the light trespass. Now, I would say that these are, a lot of them are practically design flaws. A lot of them are practically projects where you do not have a lighting consultant. But I would also jump on to that, the fact that 90% of projects will not have a lighting consultant. The sustainability comes in because if you see the light trespass, there's a sleeping accommodation inside, and so much of light is actually going in. And like I said, that we are talking about LPD, light power density. We used to talk about 1 watt, 1.2 watt of light power required per square feet of area, maybe 20 years back. Now we are talking about a 0.4 to 0.6 LPDs. That is completely unsustainable because of excessive use of fixtures. Now, I'm not saying that the fixtures are not required. The fixtures are needed because they strategically need to light up spaces. They strategically need to be installed at places where they give that specific effect what the architect and lighting consultant has come out. But now the challenge that comes on to the designer, how to control what he is already installed. Now, what happens is that lighting fixture availability is only in specific modules. Now, beyond 3 watt, you will get a 5 watt. Beyond 5 watt, you will get a 7 watt, 7 watt, 9 watt. So you do not get it. If the lighting consultant says that you need a 7.5 watt light, you still would go and install a 9 watt light because there's no availability of anything between 7 and 9. That is where the sustainability issue comes, and that is where the role of an engineer comes to actually take that sustainability problem and solve it by controlling what has been installed in that particular area. Now, like I said, buildings are wasting a lot of energy. They're overlit. They're not taking into account the daylight what they have or what we have. I completely agree with Harmeet that there are a lot of the buildings like museums where you do not want any external light to come in. But there are most of the buildings are not museums. They still need to account for the daylight. So one more concept which I wanted to come into getting into this debate was of circadian lighting. Now, circadian lighting is a relatively new concept where lighting is following the natural sleep and wake up patterns. Now, what happens is that our body is attuned to the sunlight. Now, in the morning, we have diffuse light. In the afternoon, we have very high light. And the brain actually recognizes this pattern for its alertness or sleepiness. That means the brain would function most alertly when there is very excessive light and would want to actually go down on a sleep mode when there is less of light, and it follows exactly the same pattern. So this is what is happening these days, that we are actually trying to create an internal lighting on a pattern of what the body clock actually is attuned to, is naturally attuned to. So this actually gives you a feel good factor in when you are inside. It makes you feel better in terms of your emotions. You're working better. Now I actually brought this up because serenity of lighting is not only for the eyes, it is for the heart and it is for the mind. It is for all senses to actually believe that whatever the architect and the lighting consultant has created should actually perform well, and it should actually touch all my senses rather than just my eyes. Now, these are a few of the things or the strategies that we've been employing to actually bring back what has been installed and bring the cost of operating these fixtures down. The lighting consultants have also been very sort of proactive in helping us design strategies to harvest the light, to not only just control the lights, but also control the drapes, the blinds, the shades, to actually bring in the light without any glare and reduce the amount of consumption of energy that we are doing. And mind you, it is not just the daylight harvesting. It is not in any way diminishing or diluting the effect of what the lighting consultant has actually wanted. So that effect, that is design intent, is kept intact, and still we are able to manage to bring the cost of the operations, to bring the cost of actual installation of fixtures down. Just by having those PIR sensors, ultrasonic sensor. Now, it is very also important to know that measured light and perceived light are two very important factors when we actually go in for the lighting controls. When you are having a fixture which is on 100% on, if you actually reduce even 10% of the lighting or dim 10% of the lighting, the perception is not reduced by more than 1%. That means if I am able to reduce the consumption of a fixture by just dimming it to less than 50%, my visual effect is not diluted by more than 10%. So that is how the eye and the brain perceive the light, and without diluting what the designers have in mind or what they have actually portrayed to the client, we are able to sort of control the lights in a better way and add sustainability to whatever fixtures, whatever design has come. So the furthermore strategies on scheduling and controllability, on complete integration of the lighting controls with the building management systems, with my shades, with my all light sources, with my HVAC controls, including the fact that we are actually now also controlling the lights with the last punch in and the last punch out of a building. So that is why that's what I said. I'm an ugly duckling out of the entire lot of people that you have here. But still, the important thing is that whenever we design or have that particular design in mind, it needs to be given that it needs to be completely sort of made true, with the sustainability also being incorporated into the same system. I think I would have answered most of your questions.
Yes, thank you so much, Bikramjit. I mean, I am reminded of Einstein, who discovered the photoelectric effect of light, and I'm learning new terms like circadian lighting. So just to remember it, we have lots of Punjabis here. So just to remember it, I'll say circadian lighting. Circadian is a new word, and we will try to, this thing that you are. And it's good to know that there is so much of science and technology that is there in lighting, and all that is we as architects just use the fixtures, but we don't know that how much it has evolved from Thomas Edison to Albert Einstein and to now Bikramjit Kukreja. Great. So let's carry on this evolution, and let's have some more visuals and some more delight in more light from Mr. Shakti Lekha ji. Mr. Shakti Lekha has over 2 decades of leadership experience in starting and growing the operations with various global Fortune 500 European and US companies in India, and is presently working with Bajaj Electricals Limited as Senior GM and Head Marketing Illumination. He has created many award-winning successful businesses. He is also the author of Amazon's bestseller book, Reimagine High Value Sales. My God, this is what we all need in this COVID times. He is associated with various education institutes as a member of Board of Studies and an honorary member of National Council of Green and Eco-Friendly Movement. And as such, he has been further selected as a mentor of change for the Government of India's flagship program of Atal Tinkering Labs, ATLs, established by the Atal Innovation Mission Niti Aayog. So let me welcome Mr. Shakti, and Mr. Shakti, आप शक्ति प्रदान करिए, लाइट की शक्ति प्रदान करिए हमारे webinar को. And the questions to you is that beyond lighting, what do you think is needed in an architectural lighting job, and how are we planning to address this opportunity? Over to you, Mr. Shakti. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for being. I'm honored to be part of this
august panel of architects and designers whom we get fortunately some chance to also work. Also now, when you look at, I will answer your question through my presentation if that suits right.
Yes,
Maybe
yes,
Neeraj-
amazing. Visual speaks the best. Yes.
So this slide which you see on your screen is about Mumbai's Chhatrapati Shivaji Terminus. Now this project is one of the landmark jobs done by Bajaj 7 years back. Around 2014 we did this project. Now if you look at this project, I will explain more why. First is why architectural lighting is so critical for us. Maybe if Neeraj, you can take to slide 2, so and then talk about this very specific project in detail. Neeraj ji, can we move to the next slide? Yeah. So architectural lighting, which we all are discussing as a subject, you all know the reason, because of the value which it increases. One, the aesthetic appeal, boosts tourism, helps in conveying a message for or the soul of a city in Charanjit sir's language, the soul which an architect wants to create and communicate, and the emotional value to an architect's dream and the design which he has done. So next, maybe next. So talking about CST in detail. So next slide, maybe. Neeraj, yeah. So this is what Bajaj, what we do and we provide, because we have solutions for starting from what you can look for, bridges, flyovers to railway stations, because now railway stations have become a landmark commuting places and locations where people are looking at mass transit, and they want to communicate some messaging out also about the city's soul and the city's agenda which city wants to communicate. So these have become places which talk about the emotional aspect of the living places. The second is that other places which we have done a lot, starting from Ajanta Ellora, which we go back around 10 years back, which we have done. Until today, we are doing many of the various landmark museums all across the country. The way we have got our whole solution portfolio built up is from starting from the product which Vikramjit ji was highlighting, the LED products, starting from those basic LED products which we have, to design capability, engineering capability, and installation and operation capability which we have within the organization. So end to end, the solutioning is what we can do for any consultant or any architect he needs for any project which you are looking at, and we can be a partner to you in that aspect. Next, Neeraj ji. So these are the few ranges of products. I will not try and get into much of these ranges. You all know you do require round projectors, square projector, floodlight, wall washers, and we have all these products, strips within our ranges, the barrier lights, the wall packs. So whatever you want, we can help you with products, with design capabilities, with aligning with your objective of what you want to deliver for your customer. We can work together on the solutions. And many of these solutions are made in India, and we are trying to make 100% make in India out of these solutions, and may require your input also while we design these solutions as per Make in India or Atma Nirbhar Bharat initiative, which we are all looking at. Next.
Yes.
Next slide, if you can go. Now this Chhatrapati Shivaji Terminus, this project, how we worked along was we had an architect from Pune, if you all know, Mr. Kalam Nandani ji, who was the architect for this very project. So we worked very closely with him, start from site survey, then to working on the design, looking at every aspect of this building. The uniqueness about this building, why I'm taking this case is because this is UNESCO's World Heritage Building. So in this type of a building, you are not allowed to put any nail or do any damage to the building while you are doing a project. So this was a very, very sensitive project, and we had to do it absolutely right because it's a landmark building of Mumbai. So the way we did was we created specialized brackets for this, so that the mounting can be done on those brackets for the luminaires and the fixtures which we wanted to put, and there was no nailing or least amount of nailing if required was done, if at all it is necessary, because that was the message which was given. So we managed wall washers on those brackets and created all that fixtures. Then we had to see that whatever we put should not create in a daytime look ugly because it comes out, or
is seen in daytime. So we had to camouflage or see that it is not seen. So the surface painting or the color to be looked at was again keeping the same color, and we ensured all that was done so that the theme remained the way it was. And then we even, when you look at the, if you can go to the next slide, I can show you the biggest challenge while doing this project which came in, which I want to highlight, is in the next slide. When you look at the top of the building, Neeraj, can you get into the next slide?
Yes, shown.
The dome, huh? So if you can see the dome here, now this is a quite old building, so we can't go down and work around the dome. So we had to engineer a solution which was very unique to see that we are able to, so we created a lantern carriage type of a system and got the work done. And that's the way we have done the lighting so that we don't disturb the system which is there right now. And we had to do a huge amount of 3D modeling so that we know what we are doing, how the things are happening. We gave all that calculation of illumination levels because we wanted to be very doubly sure while what we are doing. Simulation, rendering reports, walkthroughs were all created, which is what you can see, which is the strength beyond a product, which is what you were asking. What's beyond the lighting? So this is the engineering designing, which Vikramjit was also hinting at. Where does an engineer's mind come in? So we are not just having products, we have that engineering design skill, the subject matter expertise. You architects are the artists. So we can be your masons to see that the product gets delivered right and the dream gets delivered the way you are designing and your thoughts get delivered the way you want. So that is what I wanted to highlight with this. Next, maybe we can get down. So these are many projects we have done. So this is one landmark. And then there is a sensitive temple which we did, which is Mahalakshmi Temple in Kolhapur. So that video also we have. Maybe next slide, Neeraj, if you can go down.
Execution one or the next one?
So this is the execution there. I have just shown specialized work, how we have done camouflaging of fixtures, which you can see in this slide, which brings out the message. How detailing, absolute detail we went into to create together a successful project, which is a UNESCO heritage building project. So this is it. And we had our own system integration and programming team. We are running and maintaining this, which is what you can see in the next slide, which talks about CST as the final summary. So this was a project, and it was done in coordination with 3 government agencies, not just railways. Railways and Maharashtra tourism were involved. Then obviously architect who has been guiding was an expert and a torchbearer for us to move through this project. At the end, we even got an appreciation letter from Railways, which is what you can see in the side tab. So getting an appreciation out of a government body is not a joke, and they also appreciated this whole effort together, done together with a close coordination of architects. Next slide, where we can talk about Bogeyville, which is another strategic job, and with Indo-China conflict happening, that's a very strategic bridge which we have built in Assam. These are different themes which you can see over CST terminal, because CST is being used to communicate all that. When it, or a date theme, weekend theme, and even Christmas night, or a Republic Day, or a Independence Day. So all that is now building is communicating and engaging people on that. Next, Neeraj ji.
Yes.
So this is the Bogeyville bridge, which I'm talking about, which we have done in Assam. Now this bridge is a 5-kilometer long bridge, one of the Asia's longest road bridge, and it was a job done within a record time, because this was decided that Modi ji will inaugurate this on 23rd of December. He inaugurated this project, 2018, right? 2018, and we were awarded in August, for 15th August types, because that's the time this was decided, this Independence Day type. So within 4-5 months, we completed the full job and handed over on that strategy day when he wanted to see that. So from design, planning to execution, everything happened in that flat time, and we even got appreciation from Railways for this very job as well. So we are proud of this, because now this bridge gives all that national integration theme and nationalistic messaging which is required, which is nation's pride now. Next slide, if you can go down. So this is the Mahalakshmi temple I'm talking about, which is a around 200 years plus old temple in Kolhapur, which many people would be knowing. Again, the challenge was as Chhatrapati Shivaji terminus, but I will not do much talking on this. I would like the trustees of the temple to talk on this, because we do have a video which we can show where the trustees have spoken about the challenge and how Bajaj did this together with. Neeraj, audio is not coming. Thanks.
Is it now?
Yeah, it's coming. It's coming now.
Like to share with all the devotees through this medium that in our Karvir Nivasini Mahalakshmi Temple, with joint efforts of District Development Fund and Trust Management Committee, we have taken a very historic decision of illuminating our temple in line with heritage buildings like CST station and BMC office in Mumbai. Just as these buildings were made to look attractive, in the same way, our temple was also illuminated by the joint efforts of the Planning Committee Minister and Guardian Minister of Kolhapur, Mr. Chandrakant Dada Patil, and also the then Chairman of the Devasthan Committee, Dr. Amit Sen, who came together and made this possible. When we started working on the project, because our temple is a heritage site, we followed all rules of the archaeology department. We weren't permitted to hammer any nails or wooden wall hooks on the walls of the temple. We had to seek permission from the archaeology department, to which they agreed with certain terms and conditions. And we were able to abide by all their terms and conditions fully due to the help provided to us by the team of Bajaj Electricals, which did really skillful work on a large scale. It was skillful because without drilling a single hole on any part or any wall of the temple, we made the structure more beautiful and maintained the sanctity of the temple and did not in any way hurt the religious sentiments of the devotees. And we ended up completing this large-scale illumination project in the month of September. We realized that this was a wonderful project that we initiated, especially during the Navratri festival, through different mediums, through the social media. The importance of the project reached our devotees and was appreciated by them. This was never merely treated as a project. Bajaj Electricals took it to new heights and enhanced the beauty of our temple. We thank Bajaj Electricals from the bottom of our heart and wish them well for their future projects.
So my end message here was, if we as Indian companies can also help in architectural domain, because people have that feeling that only multinationals or companies from abroad have the technology. We can tell you, an Indian group with all that engineering capability and maybe your vision and dreams with design capability coming from architects, we can create products together and maybe take it to the world with architects like Amit Gupta, with Harmeet ji there and Charanjit sir ke blessing. So we can make Indian products go global in this type of a segment and position ourselves as leaders. So this is what last message, which is there from concept to care mode. So give your concept, we will work together with you, create the products, and then let's take it to the globe.
Thank you so much, Mr. Shakti. I mean, you have actually put our products in the. You have made India proud. You know that you can make in India a world standard lighting illumination. We always go abroad and see, यार ये हमारी ऐसी lighting India में क्यों नहीं होती? अब हम कह सकते हैं India में हो सकती है, be Indian, buy Indian, with Indian, with your Shakti. Mr. Shakti, I would say that.
Thank you.
All hats off to you. I have, sir, Charanjit Shah से एक मेरी complaint है. Shah साहब, are you there? सर अगर ऐसे सेमिनार हमारे स्कूल में हो जाता तो मैं भी एक एमिनेंट पैनलिस्ट बन जाता आज. ऐसे लाइटिंग सेमिनार तो हुए नहीं.
Something issue today because my net is not working properly, so I have an issue. Anyway, you can hear
such
the
beautiful lighting seminars are happening. If this awareness is happening, this is actually the day and age for the students of architecture. Should watch these and learn, because this kind of lighting. The whole kaleidoscope of lighting was never shared so much. But am I audible, Mr. Shah? Can you participate? Because I have a question to you, and we can't spare you. We'll have to ask you this question.
Yeah, can you hear
Mr.
me?
Shah,
Yes, sir.
yes.
Yes, sir. We can hear you, sir.
Shah
Please
sahab,
ask.
line pe-
So you can ask me the question.
So, sir, Mr. Shah, my question to you is that, of course, a beautiful lighting, seminar and a beautiful lighting class. But what are the challenges you have experienced with respect of lighting in large span mega infrastructure projects? So this is my specific question. And how do you want to address it? Over to you, Mr. Shah.
I've been listening to the eminent people around here, and I'm so, fascinated by things which have been said. And I agree with all of you in a sense that, like Bikramjit said, that sometimes when we do small projects and we just ignore the intensity and the real professionalism of lighting and illumination, and we start playing as an architect or as an I would even say as an MEP consultant, and we just put in few lights here and there, and and that is what is happening in most of the project I see. Like talking from small luxury housing apartments which you find here in Delhi around or somewhere otherwise also. Luxury means expensive, and people start, architects or the builders start playing with expensive lighting, and eventually what is happening is all those luxury houses or flats which are becoming, we are becoming like jazzy lighting and gaudy lighting, and all those lightings are put in and mix of more lightings put together, and that is being practically sold in the market, perhaps because of non-use of the real professionals. That what I just want, an intake which is there, and from Vikramjit's very nice three things which he has mentioned was visual, emotional, and biological, and that I really loved in that these are three fundamental things which needs to be understood when we perhaps do a good lighting system, and perhaps when we were into the large span structures, infrastructure works like large airports, or today we are talking about railway stations or intermodal hubs, or like large auditoriums of big capacity of 5,000 people or more. Lighting is very, very important role which plays into all the large infrastructure work in terms of aesthetic, in terms of economics, in terms of affordability, in terms of longevity, in terms of maintenance. I would see that when we were actually into Chennai airport project or Raipur airport or large airport structures where there is a lot of heights in the building, then how do you really install the fixtures and where to install the fixtures? Perhaps the architect's vision sometimes is that he doesn't want to put any false ceiling, and then how those things could be really fit in into the whole thing. And even I do not get the acoustics, and also I do not bother about the maintenance and all other things together. However, also I need to maintain that lux level, various lux levels within the same building. Maybe somewhere I wish to have some sort of a a mood light, somewhere general light, somewhere restaurants different lights. All those emotions are to be put in one large project, and differentiating between various lights together. And when you have like a 30-meter, 50-meter height, how can you place your pictures? Like sometimes one can play with like downlighters and uplighters at a mid level or otherwise, and even the intensity of various fixtures is very important. So in a broad shell manner, I see that there are many more manifestation of things in the illumination and lighting which the consultant can definitely deliver to us in terms of all these efficiencies, maintenance, and effectiveness, where with the MEP consultant, how the automation works, how the BMS works, how other things works to make it more effective and green. These are certain fundamental things which I was experiencing, but nevertheless, I wish sometimes overdone lighting is like criminality and excessive use of lighting, which perhaps sometimes make things so gaudy. Perhaps sometimes, like I say, like Times Square in New York or some other place, which is so much of full of light that it becomes like a light pollution into the environment. We have already, I would say that so much of pollution in Delhi, like air, water, and sound pollution. And today I think my consultants, lighting consultant would agree that we need to see that the excess use of lighting has to be practically, minimized so that it doesn't become as an eyesore, and sometimes it becomes like, overdone. That sometimes, mostly now what is happening is the cities are totally with signboards, hoardings, billboards, so much of things around that it becomes a mix and match of many things, and it becomes like a jungle of lighting, and without any cityscape being defined, and somewhere something else, like if I every day cross over to the MG Road where you have the showrooms on both the sides. I see a mix and match of so much of billboards and lighting that you just practically get confused. Somewhere it is the focus light, somewhere it is the floodlight, somewhere the other light, and then there is a zazzy light, and like I would say like disco light somewhere. And the city is getting so much of pressured environment, as we have already polluted with many more things together. If the great panelists would really highlight that how can we conserve our city's virginity and not go into that sort of lighting which is in clash and conflict with my livable spaces. So that is the take which I would rather put it, that not that we become so much of technologically bounded and superimpose that we forget our roots. So I would rather wish to create those roots which are emotionally bounded, with minimizing minimistic lighting and minimizing the use of the technology in terms of where my soul is not disturbed. It's actually the living is for the soul, not for the body. And sometimes the body and the eyes may like something, but my soul and my emotions, my heart and my feelings will be absolutely different. And that is what the architecture of tomorrow, or the cities which we create, should have that sort of a emotional, sentimental, and touch which has a connect with the soul, which would be the lighting of tomorrow. I think I have these words, and I hand over the mouth to you, and please carry on. Thank you very much, my panelists. And if you can say, really give us some light on these things, how we as an architect, we as a consultant, and we as the MEP consultant together, and the lighting experts can club together and create a harmony where we say, yes, the city by itself has a language of lighting also. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Shah, for getting so many, such a symphony of lighting, divine lighting professionals together. And I think we'll have to move a little faster, and I'll put over to you, Neeraj, to introduce Mr. Mukul and thereon. The floor is to you, Neeraj, now. Over to you. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Vineet ji. Thank you so much, all the speakers, for this wonderful webinar and putting your efforts. Really, lighting, listening on lightings and lighting designs from architects and designers and the lighting experts was really a wonderful experience. Now, I would request Mukul ji to please summarize the whole webinar. I know this is a very tough task, and Mukul ji, you are really expert. That in all the webinar, speakers are changing, but our Mukul ji is summarizing all the webinars. So you are a real hero, sir. I would request all the delegates to please stay with us for next 15-20 minutes, as we are going to sign an excellent MOU with ISLE. So I would request all the speakers to please stay with us. After Mukul ji's session, we will sign the MOU. So be part of that MOU also. Thank you so much. Mukul ji, over to you. Unmute, sir.
Sorry. Good evening, everybody. And this was a wonderful session on lighting, and it was expected to be so. And we have so many known faces on the panel, and such interesting and a wide variety of topics which were covered today. And it was very aptly opened up by architect Professor Charanjit Shah, who said very in a short way, he just said that lighting is an essential element of any building project. and it's responsible for changing or uplifting the mood, emotion, and sentiments of a person. So this, in a very nutshell, tells us how important lighting is to any kind of architectural project. And of course, he ended up with one message that please, lighting should not be overdone. We already have so many light sources all over the city. We should ensure how lighting can be economized, and very well shown by some of our experts on the panel, starting with architect Vinayak Dhawan, and I've had the pleasure of working with him on one of our landscape projects. It was Bishangarh, Fort Bishangarh, Alila Fort Bishangarh, yes. So
Thanks, Mukul.
yeah, that's where we, in fact, I was really hoping that you would show it, because that was one very intelligently and a very difficult project, which was done in I think 3 to 4 years. It took a long time. And he was very specific, in fact, on his talk, and which he said that, yes, this is one of the 4th dimensions of architecture. And truly said, because we can actually make our designs dynamic by doing the correct lighting. We had architect Amit Gupta, who showed some spectacular works of his, and he said that lighting should be embedded in the design process itself. This is something very important, a big message across to all our listeners, that lighting should not be an afterthought. It should be embedded in the design process itself, and that will in fact enhance whatever you're working on. And his beautiful projects were already seen, so I won't be talking about them. We had Mr. Harmeet Singh, again another design director, beautiful project. I belong to Jaipur, so I was looking very carefully at the City Palace. I've been there many times in the evening, so now I know who's done it. So the lovely projects again, which he showed, and he mentioned very clearly that lighting is one of the cheapest methods of decorating your building. And definitely well said, because we sometimes spend so much of money on other things that we don't keep a budget for proper lighting. We then were having, we had Bikramjeet Kukreja also with us. Again, I know him personally because we worked on a resort project. And he has rightly said that MEP has a great role in adding to the value of the project, and especially in the sustainability of the project. And lighting is an important component which sometimes we miss out on, because we overdo or we over design our lighting at times. But that is when we don't have a lighting designer, which is practically the situation everywhere. But where we do have lighting designers, MEP consultants help us a lot on automation. So how we can control lighting, like we want them in the evening for a particular time, we have proper timers, we have occupancy sensors, and the integration of all these systems put together is well done by a MEP, this thing, consultant, sorry. So then we had Mr. Shakti Lekha. He is from the Industry Direct. He is providing us with lighting solutions. And thank you, Mr. Shakti, because you showed some very, very good projects done by Bajaj, and it was very impressive. And we like the way you talked about the projects and the way the understanding of lighting was there. In fact, I think you might have also become a lighting designer by now, after doing all and seeing all of these projects. So thank you so much, all of you. And not the least to our moderator, architect Vineet Khanna. Thank you so much for putting the show together. Over to Neeraj.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. Now we are moving towards our historical day, as we are going to sign the MOU with the Indian Society for Lighting Engineers. Can you show the PPT, Anup? We have with us Mr. Pankaj Dharkar, who is the chairman of ASSOCHAM Jam Green Building Council, and I must say is the founder chairman of ASSOCHAM Jam Green Building Council. We have with us Mr. Dilip Khumbat, who is the president of Indian Society for Lighting Engineers. We have with us Mr. Dr. Prakash Barjatia, who is the governing body member of ISLE and is the director of education and training. So this is a wonderful moment. Now I would request Mr. Dharkar to share the knowledge on GEM certification program. Over to you, Dharkar Saab. Anupji, please share the screen with Mr. Dharkar.
So good
Yes, we
evening,
can see, sir.
everyone, and good evening, everyone. And first of all, thank you, Charanjit Singh ji, for sharing this platform with ASSOCHAM. And it is a wonderful day and a memorable day for ASSOCHAM GEM to sign MOU with ISLE. I think thanks to both of you, sir. It is a wonderful beginning for us. We have seen the advantage of working with several societies like ISHRE, ASHRE, FSAI, and many others. And you can see here today we had more than 2,400 registrations and more than 1,000 people attended today's workshop. So strength comes to us from 400 chambers, 4.5 lakhs members working towards creating conducive environment of India business to compete globally. We have a very dynamic president in Niranjan Hiranandani, who comes from our own building engineering side. Vineet Agarwal ji, Balkrishna Goenka is our past president who helps us, and Deepak Sood is giving us directions, a great help to us. So ASSOCHAM has taken this green initiative to care for Mother Earth with our GEM Sustainability Certification Program. This is a very, very simple reference guide. We are very proud that our program is very simple and can be understood by any engineers and architects. And of course, the lighting plays very important role. We couldn't touch much on interior lighting, and I assure you that soon we will take up with ISLE and come up with a very good program on interior lighting. Our next program is, of course, on the landscape. But this is something which we are very proud of, that we are connecting all subjects very aptly in our program. The entire program is based on sustainability of energy, water efficiency, and this is the only global program which also addresses fire and life safety. We do believe that buildings will have to be energy efficient. They will have to be having a very good indoor air quality and fresh air, but they need to be fire and life safety wise safe and secure. The program is also promoting that, therefore, ECBC 2017 and completely based on National Building Code 2016. We start from GEM 1 to GEM 5, GEM 1 being the lowest and GEM 5 being the best program. Currently, we are addressing all these aspects of housing, urban development to factories. We are in process of adding warehousing and also the healthcare facilities in very short time. The program is very affordable, the cheapest program available, and it recognizes the buildings of India. We are very confident that any building which is certified will give you 3 to 4 years payback, and we all know the buildings are built for 50 years and more. We are having a regular interaction with all certified buildings. This is the only program which has a monitoring and controlling station. We don't want that certified buildings barely remain on paper, but the energy consumptions of certified buildings, the water consumptions of certified building, the indoor air quality of certified buildings are all centrally monitored. So, and this we want to do in just 15,000 rupees, so that this also creates a data. This also gives you insight, and also for our next generation, we will create enough data which will help our innovative young minds and also architects and engineers to try and do differently and adapt strategies. We have MOUs with ISHRE, FSAI, IAQA, ASHRE chapters, Smart Habitat Foundation, GACS, and now from today we will add logo of ISLE. We will be really proud of that. we do issue the certification for all our certified projects and also plan for that. We have an excellent program on certification of professionals, which is currently also on during this lockdown and lock period. Hundreds of professionals got certified. To our credit, we have done certification of pharmaceutical projects like Abbott, JK Cement as a cement plant, Siemens as a big house in electrical side, hotels of ITC and also Hilton, also several universities you can see here. We did various programs in last 1 year since we started acting fast on this promotion of program. You can see multiple programs happening with thousands of people attending. We started with Chandigarh chapter, Rajasthan chapter, Gujarat chapter, and in recent weeks, on 4th of June, we did digital installation of UP chapter, followed by West Bengal chapter, which was attended by the Cabinet Minister for Urban Development of West Bengal. We will be sooner going to Chhattisgarh and also to Maharashtra, Karnataka, and then we intend to go to Orissa and Telangana. You can see here Madhya Pradesh, all are these plant chapters, and Mr. Tushar Sogani, who is heading and helping me on this, he's assured me that even adjoining countries like Nepal, West Bengal will be covered. So soon we will have more than 40 chapters across the country. During the lockdown period, we have done some phenomenal work along with other societies, like this document, which we presented to government along with ISHRE, FSAI, EMA, also with GSES, where we have given guidelines for resumptions of engineering services post-lockdown. This is a 57-page document which has gone to all governments of the country and union territories and well appreciated. We have done several digital programs, numerous of them, and you can see with today we will be touching 45,000 registrations and more than 23,000 attending it during this lockdown of 3 months. So this is a phenomenal work. I'm sure this is unparalleled in the country, which is done by ASSOCHAM JAM team. So thanks to my JAM team, we are also going to various universities across the country. My dynamic leader here, Mr. Vijay Garg, and also Mr. Anand Tatu and Mr. Narang, helping me to go to 100+ universities in coming weeks. So we are signing every week 2 to 3 universities across the country, and going forward, you can see number of young professionals joining this program. Our next, of course, program will be, we will be told by Mr. Neeraj, but this happens to be our centenary year, which was attended by Prime Minister himself, and also several cabinet ministers attended and graced this function of more than 5,000 people. So friends, let's please to create a green and environmental sustainable country. We want to support this vision of Prime Minister, and once again, thank you very much for crossing 1,000 mark today in terms of attendees, and I'm looking forward for my long-term association with ISLE and taking forward the lighting technologies of the country to the architects, to the builders, to entire society, so that people get aware of sustainability can be achieved with good lighting. And also thank you very much for your presence here, sir. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Darkar Saab, for so wonderfully defined about JAM certification program. Now I would request Mr. Dilip Kumbat, who is the president of ISLE and is the CEO of K-Lite Group of Industries. Mr. Dilip Kumbat is a celebrated industrialist, is a mechanical engineer and graduated from Coimbatore Institute of Technology. He is nationally known and is synonymous with his brand K-Lite. He has 3 manufacturing units at the Ambattur Industry Estate in Chennai and 2 units in Bhopal for the luminaires and poles. Over to you, Mr. Dilip Kumbat. We would like to hear from you about ISLE. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Good evening to all of you. Mr. Pankaj Dharkar, Chairman, ASSOCHAM Council of JAM. Mr. Neeraj Arora, Senior Director and Head, GEM program. Participating very eminent speakers, ASSOCHAM members, ISLE colleagues and others. It is my pleasure and privilege to participate in this webinar for two reasons. The first and the main reason is that the Indian Society of Lighting Engineers has joined hands with ASSOCHAM through a MOU with the objective to jointly develop and promote training and educational program in sustainability and related fields for and among the members of both organizations, and also enable and avail the expert faculties for their training program. Cooperate in the development and participation in conferences, exhibitions globally, which may be mutually beneficial and which strengthen the bonds of national and international cooperation between the organizations and their respective members. Promote communication and information exchange between the organizations and promote the cooperation between ASSOCHAM Technical Committee and ISLE Technical Committee and Task Force. This is a proud moment for ISLE for associating with the organization ASSOCHAM, which is the oldest apex chamber of India for Indian industry since 1920. That is more than 100 years now, with more than 100 national councils, national and state chambers, trade association, and serving more than 4 lakh direct indirect members. I am sure that both of us will mutually benefit. The second reason is that we are a part of this program through the Green Initiative and of ASSOCHAM, and the webinar is going to deal with the importance of architectural lighting in creating a surreal experience. Regarding the Indian Society of Lighting Engineers, I will try to be very brief, and Dr. Barjatya will give a detailed picture. This society was founded in 1984 as an apex professional body for lighting and illumination in India. The primary mandate of ISLE is promoting good lighting practices in India. It has done this through continuous involvement in the standardization activities, technical seminars, international exhibition. With these few words, I would like to thank ASSOCHAM for their offer to have an MOU and wish the webinar has been great success in all that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. Now we have with us Mr. Dr. Prakash Barjatya ji. He is the governing body member of ISLE and is the Director of Education and Training. Mr. Barjatya is the electrical engineer by profession and is actively involved in conducting programs, seminars, conferences in illumination, LED, solar environmental aspects. As a director of MIT School of Energy and Lighting, Pune, a unique technology managerial PG program in lighting technology and energy management was conceptualized and developed by him, which was launched in 2007. Dr. Barjatya is also approved as a service provider, technical expert by TUV, Renland, Japan, China for lighting projects. He is also a member of Impartiality Committee of TUV, South Asia. Over to you, Mr. Barjatya, for a brief on ISLE. Then we will sign the MOU officially. Mr. Barjatya, unmute yourself, sir.
Mr. Barjatya, you have to unmute, sir.
Yes, sir. Please speak, sir. We can't hear you, sir.
Barjatya sir, please select audio option into computer audio, sir. You are not audible right now. Sir, please go to the webinar panel, which is visible on your screen right side. Select the audio into computer audio, sir.
सर आपके राइट में जो कंट्रोल पैनल है उसमें ऑडियो में क्लिक करेंगे तो आपको कंप्यूटर ऑडियो दिखाई देगा सर, उस पर क्लिक करना है।
सर अगर वो कंप्यूटर ऑडियो है तो वंस एक बारी नो ऑडियो कीजिए एंड अगेन सिलेक्ट कंप्यूटर ऑडियो सर।
We will wait for a minute. If it doesn't work, we will go to the next slide. Is it working, sir?
Yeah, it is working.
Some problem.
Okay, fine,
Hello?
sir, fine. Please speak, sir. Yes, sir, please speak.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Hello?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, please speak, sir.
There is some problem, it seems.
Yeah.
Network issue.
Prakash ji, we can't hear you, sir. We can give one more try. Either there is some loose connection or so. We can give one more try, or it is not working. Dilip ji, if you allow, can we switch to MOU thing? Please unmute Dilip ji. Please unmute Dilip ji yourself. Dilip ji, unmute yourself. दिलीप जी आपको अनम्यूट करना पड़ेगा। Unmute yourself, yes.
Okay, now it's okay. Okay.
Yes, sir. So, Dilip ji, we are unable to listen to Dr. Prakash Barjatia. So if you allow, can we move to MOU signing?
Yeah, why not? Please go ahead. Yeah, everybody is waiting.
Yeah. Anup, please show the slide for MOU. Yeah. So today, this is a very historical day for us that we are signing the MOU with ISLE. This is the signed copy which shows that the ASSOCHAM GEM Council is signing the MOU with the ISLE Society of Lighting Engineers. Thank you so much. Congratulations, team ASSOCHAM GEM and team ISLE for signing the MOU, sir. Congratulations,
Thank
sir.
you very much. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
We are very proud of being associated with ASSOCHAM.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
and we will definitely.
Thank you, Dilip ji. Yeah.
So congratulations, Pankaj ji. Many congratulations to both the teams, and hope now with their coming we'll cross another 1,000 number next time.
Yes, sir. Yes. Next slide, please. We have another very wonderful webinar on lighting again. So the topic is landscape architecture as an extension of built form and soul of human settlements. So this topic is again on lighting, and we would request ISLE team to participate in this program also. This program is going to happen on Wednesday, 22nd July 2020 at 4 p.m. to 5:30 p.m. This will be our 12th webinar in the series, and we will definitely create history, sir. We will cross 1,000 marks in this webinar. Next.
This is Neeraj on landscaping architecture as an extension of built form and soul of human settlement.
Yes. And ASSOCHAM also conducts the National Engineering Olympiad for the students of third year and final year engineering students. So this information is available on green-assocham.com/Olympiad page. So the students, the professionals available here listening to us can join us for this ASSOCHAM National Engineering Olympiad. Next. Yeah. And now we are thankful to all our partners, all our supporting associations, ISLE, Bajaj, FSCI, CIA World, Architecture Plus Design, Glitz Architecture and Interiors. And we are thankful to our listeners, ladies and gentlemen, all the eminent speakers. And now we would like to officially close the webinar. Join us on next Wednesday, 22nd July at 4 p.m. for the next wonderful webinar. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having us. Thank you.
Thank you, Arvind ji. Thank you, Prakash ji. Thank you, Vinit ji. Dilip ji. Thank you, Mukul ji. Thank you, Amit ji. Thank you, Charanjit Singh ji.
Thank you,
Thank you,
sir.
sir.
Thank you, Vinit,
Bye.
and
Thank you and congratulations, sir.
Harmeet ji, everybody, by virtue of your expertise, we can really sharing platform of such nature is really wonderful. Thank you all. You know, Vinit, you have really been in time, and you could give more time for the MOU as well, and we could do justice with the program. Thank you very
Yes,
much.
yes, yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Vinit
Great.
ji. Thank you all the
I'd like to
speakers.
thank Mr. Prakash. I'd like to thank Mr. Prakash. We couldn't hear him, but his Prakash is and light is Prakash, and Prakash is light. Dr. Prakash, we don't hear you, but we can see you. We can see your light. Thank you.
Thank you, Prakash ji. Thank you. Thank you, Vinit ji.
नीरज जी, नेक्स्ट सेशन में सर को थोड़ा सा पहले से टेस्ट करके टाइम दीजिए सर.
Yes, yes, please, please. Yes, yes.
Okay.
Thank you.